Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Dahua webinar on temperature monitoring access control. It's our pleasure to be presenting to you today. My name is Simon Nash, and I'm a sales manager working for Dahua UK and Ireland. So today on the webinar, we'll be talking a little bit about how to create a safer environment using our temperature monitoring access control system. We'll talk about the positioning of the system because some of you may have attended this webinar like this before when we talked about our body temperature measurement solution. This is a little bit different, and this is very exciting because it represents a whole bunch of new opportunities for us to create a safer environment using body temperature monitoring. So we'll look at how the two positions compare and how the two different solutions are suitable for different applications. Then we'll look at the temperature monitoring solution itself and talk about the integration opportunities. And then we'll look at how this can be linked to another one of the pillars in our product solutions, customer flow management. So how can it be linked into that? We'll look at a few application scenarios and then end up with some Q&A. Now, on the subject of Q&A, we have a team of people here headed by Andy, and they're all sat ready to receive your questions. So if you have questions during the webinar, then please feel free to message or text those into us on the message application, and we'll do our very best to answer those for you today in real time. Now, if we can't get to all of those questions, then we'll respond to you within 24 hours. But actually, we did have we have a record number of people attending this course today, and therefore some people have sent in questions in advance. So we've actually got 3 or 4 questions at the end that people have already sent in. So we'll share those with you today because you might find some of those questions useful and interesting. Okay. So firstly, let's talk about how we create a safer environment. So at Dahua, we pride ourselves on our level of support, our quality, our innovation, our reliability, and you get all of those things as standards, as standard features when you purchase a Dahua product or you have a relationship with Dahua. And those things are not to be understated, and we're very proud, certainly, of our innovation and how we bring about innovative solutions to the market to solve customer problems. But that acts as a great foundation, and now we need some pillars. So to start with, we have a body temperature management solution. And as I said in the introduction, some people may have attended a webinar already on the body temperature measurement solution, sometimes shortened to BTM. So sometimes we refer to that and BTM as the body temperature management solution. So this is a very strong feature for a product feature for Dahua, a product set for Dahua, and we've sold many hundreds of these in the UK already. We also have a customer flow management solution. So this is a system whereby you can limit the occupancy, if you like. And perhaps some of us have been to supermarkets or retail stores where there are actually actively people that are there, and they're limiting the number of people into the store to allow us to keep social distancing. Our customer flow management solution does that in an automated way, and we're going to look at how we can integrate into that a little bit further down the road in the webinar. And then also the temperature monitoring access control solution. So that's the one we're going to be talking about today. But these 3 strong pillars of technology go together to create a safer environment for us all to live in. The one we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, is the temperature monitoring access control solution. But to save time, I'm not going to talk too much about temperature monitoring access control. We'll shorten it to TMAC. So we tend to refer to it as a TMAC solution. So we'll come on to that a little bit later on. Firstly, let's have a look at what our customers tell us about the requirements of a temperature monitoring solution. So as far as primary screening is concerned, the current way people tend or have tended to do it historically is to use a handheld thermometer. And the trouble with that is we know that gets very close. You get very close to a person, and that can be quite dangerous in terms of infringing social distancing rules. And if you want to keep a record of that information, it's a very manual process. So what a lot of customers tell us is they want an automated non-contact process whereby it can be fast, efficient, and can detect multiple people at the same time. And if you want to record the data, the information, then you can do that. You can do that automatically and produce different reports along the way. So we're going to come on to talk about those 2 different solutions as we go throughout the course of the webinar. So to start with, let's look at the 2 different systems that we have. So remember, we have the body temperature management solution and the temperature monitoring access control. So if we look at where these two solutions fit in terms of positioning, so I've got a graph here to share with you. So along the bottom axis, we've got people capacity. So and that ranges from single people, just not single as in not married, but single people as in going through the system onesie twosies, or a group of people passing through in a higher capacity environment. And we've compared that on the vertical axis with the detection distance. So whether you have to be close to the camera or further away. So the first one to plot on there is the body temperature monitoring solution, the BTM. So you can see that that's well suited for quite a high volume of people. So a really good application there would be, for example, we've put a system into Gatwick Airport, and they are talking, mass amounts of customers. Hopefully, when we return to normal, large amounts of customers coming through the immigration or through departures. So the BTM solution is ideally suited for that, because it can handle up to 30 people at a time, and it can detect them at a long distance in excess of 3 meters. So you don't have to be very close to the camera. However, that's not really the solution required. That type of solution is not required in every application, and therefore we have our TMAC solution. So the TMAC is more of a solution where people go through one at a time. They can walk past the camera in just the same way as they did with the BTM solution, but this time they have to tend to be more in a single file as opposed to being able to walk through as a group. So, and also you have to get quite close, and we'll talk about that a little bit more detail as we go throughout the course of the webinar. So on this slide, I've tried to compare the differences between and the advantages of the two different systems, because there aren't really any disadvantages. There's more differences, because each one is ideally suited for a different type of application. So you can see, as I touched on there, the BTM solution can detect at about it can detect at 3 meter distance. It can do multiple targets. You can walk through it as a group, and you don't need to walk through one by one. Now, the difference between that and the TMAC is it tends to be a little bit higher cost, because it requires a black body, because you're looking at detecting over a large distance. And also the system, it comes as standard with tripods. It can be installed, of course, many customers do that. But there's a difference between the two systems. So for large volume of people, like airports, as I mentioned, like large offices, supermarkets, etc., the BTM could be an ideal solution. But if you want a system that's suitable for perhaps smaller spaces, maybe small retail, education, small offices, those type of applications, then the TMAC solution, which is smaller in size, it's lower in cost, it's quicker to deploy, because you literally plug it in, switch it on, and it will start working and measuring temperature for you. It can also be linked to access control, and it has an audio interface, so it will talk to you to say access granted or access denied. But the difference is, as I said, you do it one by one as opposed to a group going through, and the detection distance is much shorter, this time between 0.3 and 0.8 of a meter. So you have to get physically closer to the TMAC system than you do with the BTM solution. So let's take a look at the TMAC, or Temperature Monitoring Access Control System, in a little bit more detail. So you can think of the TMAC solution as a marriage between two different technologies. To start with, there's temperature monitoring, so thermal imaging. So on top of our solution, there's a thermal imaging camera, a low resolution thermal imaging camera, and there's an access control panel. And both of these technologies have existed for a long time in their own right. However, TMAC is a happy marriage of both of those two different technologies merged into the same box. So that is TMAC. That's what it looks like. And if we go through, just to pick up a couple of the points of on that slide, there's firstly at the top is our camera section. That's where our images are. So at the top, I already mentioned the camera system, and then below that there are the couple of cameras there for facial recognition. So because it's an access control panel, it can work with facial recognition, and if that's enabled, those cameras are the ones that are used. It also has a touchscreen display and an RFID card reader. We'll come on to touch on those points a little bit later. But sat behind that, that's what you see externally as a user. What about inside? So some of the technology employed is an advanced AI algorithm, and this is for anti-fake ID. So if somebody comes through with a picture of somebody perhaps who's on a whitelist stored within the device, then it can detect for anti-fake IDs. And also it uses the cameras inside for facial recognition are 2 megapixel CMOS images, and they have a wide dynamic range. So if you're using TMAC perhaps in a reception area where there could be difficult lighting conditions, then this is an ideal product for you. Let's take a look at some of the customer features. So the one I've touched on already, it's contactless. It still maintains the non-contact nature of our detection system, but this time, instead of being 3 meters as it was with the BTM solution, this time it's between 0.3 and 0.8 of a meter. But despite that difference, it still is able to achieve the same level of accuracy. And we've always talked about on these webinars, we've always talked about the need to achieve the accuracy of plus or minus 0.3 degrees. However, on our solution, you actually don't need to remove your glasses. It's best if the camera can get an accurate reading around the tear duct. But if you can't, then the camera will look for other locations, maybe around the eye or on the forehead. So unlike some systems where you have to remove the eyeglasses, you don't have to do that, and you can still achieve the same level of accuracy. In terms of response times, it's very quick, somewhere between 0.2 seconds for facial recognition and 0.2 seconds for temperature detection. So very, very quick. Installation is simple. You can configure it in a number of different ways that we'll talk about a little bit later in the webinar, and it comes as a series of different mounting options that I'll show you very shortly. And also compatibility is important. Compatibility not only with other Dahua products, but also with third-party solutions such as access control companies. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and show you some examples of how the technology can be integrated later in the slide. So let's have a look at the family. This is the TMAC family. I've already touched on the screen. In fact, it's a 7-inch touch screen display that appears on all of the products. It's an ambient temperature range for the solution is between 16 and 32 degrees centigrade. It's got a temperature accuracy of plus or minus 0.3, and the measuring distance we already touched on is 0.3 to 0.8 of a meter. The unlock mode could either be through facial recognition, it can be through RFID card, or it can be through the manual entry of a password. Wi-Fi connection, so it can be connected across a Wi-Fi solution, a Wi-Fi system, and it's also got a weakened output for integration to easy integration to access control. And you can see the 4 images there. These are the different solutions. Let's take a look at that in a little bit more detail. So firstly, we have a floor standing option. It is exactly the same TMAC solution in all of these different mounting options. Okay, so the box is pretty much exactly the same with the thermal camera on the top. So the floor standing one is probably our most popular so far, and this is the one a lot of customers are liking. It simply sits there. I think the height is 1.4 meters, and as you walk past it or look at it, it will detect and measure your temperature. However, you can also have it as a wall-mounted option. You can have it as a turnstile mounted option. So if you want to connect it to a turnstile or a speed gate, then it comes with a stainless steel pole mount. Or you can get a desk mounted bracket. So this again for reception desks, that sort of thing. Not only will it recognize for access control purposes, but also detect the temperature from temperature detection point of view. Just to bring the turnstile mounting one to life, this is what it looks like if it's installed on one of our turnstile solutions. Again, these are all available. And as I said, it does make a very good integrated solution, but we're going to touch on that in a little bit more detail later in the webinar. Just to talk very quickly about multi-layer authentication, kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's go into it in a little bit more detail. So the TMAC solution itself is able to think of it as having requiring a number of different ticks. It ticks in the box to allow to grant access. So firstly, is Simon valid, and is his identification valid to work in this office? Yes, he is. Okay, great. So there's the first tick. Is he compliant with the mask policy? Okay, so if a company decide that they want all their employees to wear masks, is he wearing a mask? Yes or no? And is his temperature okay? And if you don't get 3 ticks there, then you won't get access. But if the person presenting themselves ticks all of those boxes, then the system will give an audible message to say access granted. And if the system is linked to an access control system, then the barriers would open, or the gates would open, or some further action would happen. But it's possible to configure the system, and this is probably one of the most popular configurations, for the system just to use temperature checking. So unless it's linked to access control, it's probably identification and mask compliant is maybe not that important. But I know, for example, we've sold many of these systems where they're just used for temperature checking. So it simply checks the temperature, and then it gives the audible indication access granted. So what does it look like in terms of its workflow? So here you see the floor standing TMAC, and a person is going to present themselves to the TMAC. The temperature is checked with the thermal camera. The temperature is normal, so they get the audible message, access granted. And if that's the case, then they just carry on walking past the device and into the entrance within the building. And the same thing, same workflow, exactly the same with a turnstile solution. Temperature normal. This time the gates would open and the people walk through the building. However, if they present themselves to the solution and the temperature is high, the warning is different. The audible warning says access denied, and obviously they need to seek assistance. And it's just the same with the speed gate, access denied in just the same way. So in this case, is a very good solution because they wouldn't actually gain access to the building. However, think about the case where you have multiple TMACs deployed within a building. So whether that in any configuration, it could be the turnstile solution, it could be the floor standing solution. And we've sold a lot of TMAC solutions to customers that deploy multiple systems around the building. Well, how does the operator, how does the security guard, how does the receptionist know which person triggered? So why not link it to a video intercom solution? So this is a standard Dahua product, our video intercom solution. This creates or gives you a real-time surveillance display of what's appearing and the people that are passing through the TMAC. So again, it can give you alarm displays in the case of high temperature or if the person's not wearing a mask. It's an Android operating system, it's a desktop installation, and it's a Wi-Fi connection. So if you want to simply connect a TMAC into the video intercom, then you can do that across a Wi-Fi solution. So it's a very, very simple method of connecting two different things together. But again, I mentioned what if you have multiple TMACs. So if you have multiple TMACs, it's a different solution. You can connect these and aggregate these across one of a piece of software we call DSS Express, the Dahua surveillance system. So this will aggregate multiple TMACs from across the building, all across a Wi-Fi network, and it will present all of the information that was on the previous slide. It will present it in one go to the operator. Okay, so what about integrating the TMAC into a turnstile solution? Well, Dahua, as I said earlier, make a range of different turnstiles, and these are all featuring brushless servo motors. They're very accurate, so when the TMAC is linked, it gives you greater than 99% temperature accuracy of 0.3 degrees. It's also low noise, and it's tested to a durability of more than 5 million open cycles. It's safe because there's a curtain of infrared LEDs which employ anti-pinch technology. So it's a very elegant solution. We have one here in the room I'm in our training room right now. It's a very elegant solution, and it's high quality 304 stainless steel. So if you'd like more information, then please message us about that. We're happy to send you some product literature. But what about third party? Maybe this is a retrofit. Maybe you're using TMAC as perhaps a way of integrating to multiple third party systems. So let's have a look at perhaps how you can do that. Probably the most simple way is using the relay output. So all of our TMAC solutions have a relay output. So this is a normally open, normally closed relay output that can be used to trigger third party turnstiles or speed gates. So this is incredibly easy to install and deploy. You can utilize an existing infrastructure or an investment of speed gates. You don't have to customize anything. There's no firmware. It's a direct connection through the relay output. And this is proving really popular. This type of solution is proving really popular. Not only it's a simple link, that gives you the security of knowing people entering the building are having their temperature checked at the entrance. But what about third-party solutions using a bit more technology? So a little bit more of a smarter integration, if you like. So this will, there's a number of different options. It can be the Dahua API or software development kit. It can be through ONVIF compliance, or also more commonly through the Wigan interface. And we're talking to companies like Paxton and PAC about it being able to integrate into their access control systems. So effectively, we hope in the near future we'll be able to say, okay, you can remove the existing card reader and put a TMAC in there. All the functionality will be of the card readers transferred into TMAC, but this time you have the safe in the knowledge that the people presenting the badge or their face are able to have their temperature checked at the same time. So again, that's all part of our Eco Partner program. Again, you can message us, you can mail me at the end, or call me, and we'll give you more information about that level of integration. But what about interfacing it to, that's third party, but what about interfacing it to one of our own solutions? So one of the other pillars that I mentioned at the beginning was the people capacity, customer flow management, we tend to call it. So what about integrating the flow management with TMAC? So I can give you, this is the example that I used earlier on, and we talked about the 3 levels of authentication. So is the person carrying an ID? Are they compliant with the mask policy? And is their temperature okay? But what about adding another layer? What about adding a layer, for example, is there spare capacity in the building? And only if there are 4 ticks in this case is access granted. So that could represent quite a good opportunity in terms of providing solutions for your customers. Let's just look at one now that we've done. I think this one's done actually in China. So this was integrating TMAC with our customer flow management solution. So this is being used and deployed on a bus. I think actually 300 buses. It's a marriage of the 2 technologies. So what happens is, as passengers board the bus, their body temperature is checked, and that will give you a go, no go, or an indication as to whether or not the person's carrying a body temperature as you would expect. And it would inform the driver if somebody's trying to get on the bus with a high temperature. In terms of how that works, we have a series of cameras that are deployed that are connected to a mobile NVR. You can see it in the top left-hand box. Which is connected to a driver display that you can see on the right-hand side, circled in red, and that will present a display to the driver to let them know whether or not there is capacity on the bus. So in this way, the driver can make a decision. He knows whether there is spare capacity. So when he comes to a stop, he'll know whether to open the doors or not, because he'll know whether there's capacity in the bus. And as I said, this was deployed in I think 300 buses in China. So this is just one example of integration, the integration of technology to find an innovative solution to solve a customer problem. And there are many more. And we're at the beginning of finding a way, I think, to integrate multiple technologies like this, which we think will become prevalent as we go into what people are calling the new normal. Okay, so again, just to recap, we've talked about the temperature monitoring access control, the TMAC system on the right-hand side, but please don't forget that there are those other opportunities for body temperature, the BTM, and also the customer flow management solution. These things can be deployed individually, or they can be deployed as a solution, a combined solution for the customer to create a safer environment. And don't forget, all of this is underpinned with the Dahua support, quality, innovation, and reliability that we pride ourselves on. So as we move to the new normal, what about preventing reoccurrence? And this is an important part, and obviously if you listen to the news, or you can hardly avoid it these days, it's all about how we're going to prevent the second spike, a second peak, how we're going to prevent people becoming reinfected. This is ideal technology to assist with that. It's not a panacea, it's not a silver bullet, but it certainly can begin to screening is generally recognized. Temperature screening is generally recognized as a good solution to help with this. So let's just think about some different scenarios. You know, there's large retail stores, there's schools, there's banks, there's coffee shops, there's museums, there's manufacturing, there's pharmacists, there's post office, there's metro stores, there's lots of different, and again, education, government, there are all these different, many different applications that can benefit. And we've sold TMAC into virtually every single one of, or our partners, I should say, have sold TMAC into virtually every single one of these applications. And if we haven't, like museums, I don't think we've sold any into museums yet, but we're talking to many museums and galleries about that, because they're interested in reopening. They want to reopen. You know, they need to do that quickly and get back to normal. This is an enabling technology that will really help that, and we're interested to work with you on providing that solution. If you're not an existing Dahua partner, please contact us. Please join us. Please enroll, become one of our partners, and we'll be very happy to work with you on providing solutions, combined solutions for your customers. So finally, why Dahua? Well, we put Dahua at the center of our product development. We deliver unparalleled quality and reliability. And the key word here is we work in partnership with our installation partners and our distributors. And that really means a lot to us here at Dahua. We really work with the partner in the truest sense of the word partnership. So we like nothing more than for you to challenge us. Come to us, tell us the problem that your customer is experiencing, and we'll take great pleasure in trying to work with you to find a solution to that problem. We like to bring innovation to the security industry, and if you've attended any of our innovation days, as we did a tour around the country earlier this year before lockdown, you'll know how much we talk about using our industry-leading AIoT, so the combination of artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things to bring together more sophisticated and more complicated solutions for customers. We like delivering customer solutions using the latest technology, so kind of touched on that with AIoT. And we invested almost $400 million last year in R&D. So a significant investment in research and development goes on in our HQ. And we're also committed at the same time to reducing our carbon footprint. So at the same time as we like to develop new products, we like to develop them in a green and a responsible way. And that goes all the way through from the design of the product through to the packaging and distribution. And we are truly an end-to-end provider, so we can provide everything in the value chain, all the way from the cameras through to the displays, to large outdoor displays, video walls. We can supply drones, etc. We can supply you name it, and we can supply it. And we work, as I said, we touched on integration earlier on. We work with over 300 integration partners as part of our eco partner scheme. And we also adopt international safety, and we already touched on the environmental standards. So hopefully, if you're not working with Dahua, maybe some of those reasons and what you've heard today will convince you to work with us as a trusted supplier. We like to develop trust with our partners and work in partnership with you to find solutions for your customers. So if you are interested, contact us. Please register as a partner. But if you're interested in purchasing a product, then we have a range of different distribution partners, both in the UK and Ireland. They're there for you. We will also send you a copy of this slide deck with all of the information on, and that gives you some choices and some information for you to follow up on. So I think now we move to the Q&A. I've seen we've got a lot of questions that have come in during the session, so thank you everybody that's registered a question today or logged a question with us. If we haven't had a chance, because I think we've been quite busy, been inundated with questions today, we will get back to you if we haven't responded already within the next 24 hours. But we did have these questions sent in advance, so just to quickly share these with you. The first one came from James. Okay, I have to install TMAC solution. I have to install a TMAC solution on Monday. The customer only wants to use the temperature detection. Is there any help you can give? Okay, so again, this question might come up about configuration with other people, so it's worth sharing. So yes, the answer to that is obviously we have a technical support line, but to be honest with you, most people probably don't need to phone tech support. It's very simple. Even I can do it. You plug in, you log in and you can just select temperature detection only. You can turn off all the other detection methods. And what we did, actually, Chris, our technical manager, created a video, and we'll send you this link in the email you get after attending this this webinar. And he's created a video. I think actually it's about 2 minutes long or 3 minutes long, and that takes you from end to end, from out of the box to configuration. The whole video lasts about 2 or 3 minutes, and that's what you can do to configure the TMAC for temperature detection only. Very, very simple, and we'll send you that. So take a look at it on YouTube. The next question is from Riaz. Can the TMAC solution be used outdoors? That's a good question, Riaz. Very common question. Thank you for sending it in. I didn't mention earlier, but there is a specific temperature range for, I think it's 16 to 32 degrees ambient temperature operating range. So it isn't suited to use outside, and in fact, nor is any thermal detection product for this application. Obviously, thermal imaging per se has been used outside for many years for long range detection, recognition, and identification. But in this application, it's not suited due to the environmental conditions affecting any brand of thermal detection. So this is an indoor only solution. Adriana has asked, my company wants to use the TMAC solution but are concerned about GDPR. Okay. Are there any GDPR compliance issues with the product? Answer is no, it doesn't record any video. So unlike the BTM solution, customers tend to be quite concerned about GDPR because there is a facility on the BTM solution to record the video, or you can just record on alarm. It's up to you. It's a configurable choice. With the TMAC solution, no, there are no GDPR issues to be concerned with. And I think, one last question. Okay, Eric, which of the Dahua solutions is best suited to be used in an education environment? Okay. So again, thank you, Eric. The best solution, I think it's a difficult question to answer, really. The best solution depends on the application. Let me put it that way. So, for example, if you want to detect the temperature of people, maybe children coming in or students coming into a school through a big entrance, and they're coming in en masse, then the BTM solution, the body temperature monitoring solution, is probably the best there. But if you wanted to check the temperature of people coming through, maybe into a canteen or to a restaurant area or into a classroom, then I would recommend the TMAC. So it's probably a little bit difficult to answer that question, Eric. I mean, drop us a mail afterwards and give us a bit more information about the specific application. But again, it depends which scenario you're looking at. Is it mass screening of people entering the school, or is it more of a onesie twosie, people walking past maybe to a restaurant or to a cafeteria? Okay, so thank you for attending. If you have any other questions, there's my contact details. You can also message as you have been throughout the course of the webinar. Thank you for attending. There's all of our details there. We will send you all of this information, the links. We'll send you the PDF and the brochure. We'll send all of that information to you following the webinar. So hopefully you'll get that later today or tomorrow. And we'll run another webinar in the next couple of weeks. I think we're actually due to rerun this webinar. So if any of your colleagues, any of your customers, if you'd like them to attend it, then please watch out for the next notification. I think it's 2 weeks time, or 1 week or 2 weeks time, but we'll put all of that information in the email. And if you want us to support you, if you'd like us to support you or work with you, then that's what we like to do the best. So thank you for attending, and look forward to talking to you on the next webinar. Thank you.